Now, plastic pollution in Malaysia has reached alarming levels, affecting our environment and health. To shed light on this issue, we have with us Farhana, Sheikh. So Farhana, what's driving this whole plastic crisis?
Thank you, Hafiz. Now, the surge in plastic pollution in Malaysia stems from several interconnected factors. We have notably our high per capita plastic consumption, inadequate waste management infrastructure, and also fragmented policies across states.
Now, let's delve into these factors that you mentioned. How does Malaysia's plastic consumption compares to the internationally and regionally?
Right. In 2020, a WWF report actually found that Malaysia had the highest per capita plastic consumption in Southeast Asia. So each person was actually using about 16.8 kilograms of plastic a year. A big reason for this is our lifestyle. We basically rely a lot on plastic-heavy conveniences. You think about your food delivery, your supermarket packaging, and of course the ever-present single-use plastic. I mean, just take a stroll around our Ramadan bazaar.
Yes.
There's plenty of plastic bags and containers used everywhere. But it's not just about what we use, it's also about where it ends up. Now, in 2021, a report found that Malaysia was leaking over 73,000 metric tons of plastic waste into the ocean every year. And that puts us actually among the world's top contributors of ocean polluters, alongside countries like the Philippines, Indonesia, Myanmar, Vietnam, and Thailand.
Now, that's really a lot. How is this, pattern of consumption impacting the environment?
Right, it's not only impacting the environment, it's impacting us as well. So the environmental impact is profound, but a 2024 study actually published in the Environmental Science and Technology Journal found that Malaysians actually consume an average of 502.3 mg of microplastics daily per capita. So ranking highest among 109 countries that it surveyed. And more than 50% of this actually comes from the fishes that we eat. So this poses a serious risk to both marine life as well as human life.
So how do we look at this? What about our waste management? Are we equipped to handle this kind of plastic load?
Well, based on the analysis and the figures that were showed just now, Malaysia lacks a mandatory waste segregation practice. And the absence of a uniform policy as well, plastic policy as well, also leads to inconsistent enforcement across states. So I guess the short answer to that would be no, could be better. So let's say, for example, some states would ban plastic straws and while others charge varying fees for plastic bags. So this lack of standardization actually hampers effective waste management and exacerbates the problem. I actually spoke to Wendaksin from Greenpeace Malaysia to dive deeper into this.
So there are some limitation and shortcomings in relation to this waste management according to different states. So that's why in 2007, the government has actually put out a new law that's called the Solid Waste and Public Cleansing Management Act 2007. So we call that the Act 672. So it actually comes into full effect on September 2011 to address the gap in the current waste management practices. So the waste management infrastructure and management is still limited because it's only enforced currently in KL, Putrajaya, Pahang, Johor, Malacca, Negeri Sembilan, Perlis, and Kedah. So what these acts required is that households are to separate their waste. So we call it separation at source. So we're starting a separation at home, and also data reporting for companies on their generation of waste. Unfortunately, it's only these states, and most of the time separation does not actually really take place. For example, if you're living in a condo or apartment, you don't really see that the management offices have like different waste bins for the residents to throw their waste or sort their waste accordingly. So this is also because there is a very lack of monitoring and any enforcement efforts to ensure that separation at source actually takes place.
So Farhana, what are Are there enough measures taken to address all these challenges? And the most important thing is, are they sufficient?
Well, most recently, the Malaysian government is considering introducing a national legislation, and as part of the 13th Malaysia Plan, this was announced by our Minister, Datuk Seri Nik Nazmi. So, to address plastic pollution more comprehensively, this legislation could provide a more robust legal framework to phase out single-use plastic and tackle plastic pollution. But I talked to Yan again and about what should actually be addressed and what should be included in this national policy, and she has an interesting take. So let's have a listen.
So the important thing that we have to start realizing is that recycling is actually a failed system. So we have data from back in 2022. The recycling rate is only 33.1%. So it's actually taken from SW Corp. Okay. The problem with that is because there are different types of plastics, and unfortunately, a lot of people aren't aware. So policymakers definitely have to develop adequate policies to address all these root issues and to invest in a future that can be brought on by a systematic change that ultimately lead to what Greenpeace is actually promoting, what we call is a refill and reuse system, so that you could see all these zero waste stores popping up around that actually kind of like have people bring in their own containers and that to buy what they need, so that avoids the unnecessary plastic packaging. So because you probably have clean containers at home that you could reuse indefinitely until it's broken. So that's why we are trying to push forward the refill and reuse system as a real solution instead of recycling.
Well, I hope that the national policy will actually review what Yan just said, this initiative, and with Malaysia chairing ASEAN 2025 this year, there's a real chance that to tackle plastic pollution at a regional level as well and really push for stronger action against plastic waste.
Let's hope that's the case. Thank you, Farhana. That was Farhana Sheikh sharing this story with us. We'll go for a short break. Stay with us.